This is the May 18th, 2016 watch list video. I'm looking at the SPY here. This bounce from yesterday was negated in one day. You can kind of picture a little head and shoulders here on the SPY. 60-minute candles might even show it. Yeah, let's pan out a little bit. You can kind of picture shoulder, head, shoulder. So here's the neckline. We break down below, say 204. Could get some selling. I mean, it's just worth noting. Again, the market has felt heavy. So be careful out there if you're trading on the long side. But anything can happen on any given day. And here's the watch list I have going into Wednesday. CPXX, great relative strength today and closed very strong. Had this big pop back here. Consolidated for a couple days. I should have had this on watch today and I didn't. But maybe a follow-through day, red to green day tomorrow, something like that. We'll keep an eye on that. CPXX, nice little pop today. Just looking for follow-through. IILG just goes back on watch. Quiet, narrow inside day today. No trades in it. Just goes back on watch tomorrow. TRUE had this big volume spike back here. Came all the way back down and took out the lows of the day that it had the volume spike and then is working its way back up. Almost kind of picture, I don't know if you have an inverse head and shoulders. That's, well, you have to blur your vision to see it. But I do like the fact that now it's kind of trading above probably almost 2 weeks worth of trading. And there's not a lot in the way to the left there. Let's look at 60-minute candles, might show it. So it's not a great setup, but you get up. If this keeps climbing, it might start to take off. Again, I'm not in love with this one, but you did have a little bit of extra volume today. And again, it's working up above some resistance. So we'll keep our eyes on that one. I like to focus, if you watch my videos at all, I like to focus on stuff that has had really high relative volume within the past few days. So real quick, going back to TRUE, you don't really have that. So it's kind of one of those, yeah, maybe that could give a trade, but whenever I feel that way, I generally don't get too excited about that one. URI, nice volume spike today. Ripped through the 200-day on an intraday basis, but then closed right back at it. Again, maybe a red to green tomorrow. Had a nice pop back here a few weeks ago. Climbed up and then kind of gave it all back. And then a nice pop today. So this one might follow through. I'm going to watch for a red to green in that one tomorrow. ORIG, again, USO oil just keeps climbing. It is hitting the USO is hitting the 200-day now. But if oil continues higher, some of these recent lower-priced oil movers might get going again. So this ORIG has really kind of got a nice little flag pattern here. Let's just grab this real quick. Not that hard to see, right? After a big volume spike, and it hasn't, given back all the gains from that volume spike, so that's just pretty much the definition of a flag. You break above this top line, it might take off. All right, so keep your eyes on oil. I still like the setup in this one. A little bit of extra volume today. That one's kind of interesting. TI, I can't type tonight. TISA, out of the blue. Big volume. Now this huge volume spike is only 2 million shares, which shows you how thin this thing really is. Like some days last week, it only traded 7,000, or not last week, but in the past month or two, only traded 8,000, 23,000. So this is a huge volume spike. I want to watch it again for maybe a red to green or something like that tomorrow. But you always want to be careful not to chase something like this. But I would remind you that MGT. People probably thought they were chasing at $1.27 or at 73 cents, right? And the thing went all the way up to $5 today. So, always keep in mind how extended something is, but at the same time, I'm aware that it can keep going. So, with a proper setup, that one's worth watching. I want to watch Momo today or tomorrow. It had a nice move today. It never really made it easy though, because by the time it got up here to back through the open, it had already made kind of a big climb, and I didn't want to take a high of day break when it's already climbed like this. And I'm a big fan of taking something that should work right away. So, I thought, hey, over the high of the day, Momo certainly might get going, but I can't take it after it's just been running for 10, 15, or really you could argue almost 30 minutes to give one little hiccup, and I guess you could have grabbed it right there. But, I'm a big fan of taking stuff that should work right away so I don't have to ever be in anything and be underwater wondering if it's going to come back. All right, so if I take something, it's generally at an inflection point that I look for, and I should get immediate feedback. And if I don't, that's also immediate feedback that, hey, your idea of knocking down these other dominoes didn't work, so I can get back out basically flat if it doesn't do what I look for. So, it's kind of maybe a unique style, but I'm very comfortable sitting in cash unless and until I find a setup like that. So anyway, having said all that, Momo had this nice pop, but then really the next few hours just consolidated. So even though when you look at the daily, it feels almost like chasing already, taking it over today's high. When you go to an intraday, it had a few hours to digest this nice move, and there's really not much in the way above. So I do like Momo over today's high. Putting my notes right now, 1308. This thing seems to gap one way or another though every morning, so it's almost never as simple as you want it to be with this Momo stock. EBIO also kind of in a pattern here, and I had this on watch when it looked like this coming into today, but generally, when you already had a big move, and this one went from 92 cents to $1.30, so percentage wise that's a really big move, right? Generally, the next day I don't want to try to chase it, but I definitely like it if it gets up above this trend line. Well, it kind of did what I wanted it to do. You had a lower volume pullback, so now it's more interesting. So if it can get over this, let's see, the 2-day high would be $1.30. If this can get up to $1.30, this one might just rip. So keep EBIO. Now, keep in mind too, $1.30 is 20 cents, or you could argue about 20%. Almost, right, give or take, from where it closed. So, I would rather, maybe this could trade between $1.10 and $1.17 for an hour, and then break the high of the day, and then start knocking down the other catalyst. That is a more desirable setup. So we don't know how it's going to trade tomorrow. We don't know if the market's going to be tanking, and none of these will give setups because I don't fight the overall market. So keep that in mind too. It's impossible for me to give you a scenario in these videos the day before on what might get me to enter. So keep that in mind. And then lastly, I've got Ross Stores, which is a little bit weird looking. It gapped up but then sold off all day, but right back down near the support. It's got nice support at 54 here, and I believe this one pretty much just following TJ Maxx, which had a nice gap up and came down, but found some buyers. It looks like. Let's look at it on an intraday basis. Yeah, found some buyers after the initial gap fill this morning, and then it came back down, kind of a double bottom, and found some buyers again. So if TJX starts back up, I kind of, even though this is a weird chart, and this isn't something normally would have caught my attention, this ROST, since it's got nice support below, I think it's worth watching for a possible green day tomorrow. Not in love with that one, but anyway, we'll be watching for gappers in the pre-market tomorrow. Hopefully build a decent gap playlist, and that first hour, 90 minutes or so, very, very important in this market because things are really, really dying down after that. So I'm going to try to be super focused really now and through the whole summer because things slow down. That first 90 minutes are really, really important. So keep that in mind. I'm going to quit babbling, and we'll talk to you guys tomorrow.